Some people say it don't matter what you do, life's gonna get you anyway. And some people say I might as well relax, won't make a difference today. But I'm here to say that I believe, yeah, in the power of one. It only takes one heart, one soul to make a difference in this world.
In the spring of 2010, my daughter and I embarked on a journey around the world. We were searching for changemakers, ordinary people who were making our world a better place. Helen Keller once said, "I am only one, but still, I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can still do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something I can." How many people does it take to make a difference? Only one person at a time.
So I had no idea at the beginning what the heck I was doing.
I must have been absolutely insane to go and do that.
It's not perfect. If I had waited for things to be perfect, it never would have happened.
I remember what service used to look like. I remember what communities used to look like.
I'd never seen poverty like that.
I was really struck by what I saw. It felt like a triage unit of a war hospital.
They have never seen a doctor, sometime in their whole life. There were a lot of patients, and here was a doctor without medicines.
In the beginning, I really did think, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna work a little bit, send some money back, and build a small home for a couple of kids. We just started forming this family.
I just knew there were people like Maggie all over the world. I wanted to make a film in the hopes that it would motivate others, inspire others as to what they could do.
I felt there had to be a reason that I've been put on this earth.
What I've tried to create is just something positive, one little piece of something that's positive and good and happy. So much good can come out of us just getting our hands dirty and trying to create change. Anything that you want to create, you can do. The universe will just conspire in your favor.
You may have all these riches and you are not happy. I have nothing, no nothing. I have peace.
Find that within yourself, what you want to do with your life, what makes you happy.
There's a way to connect to good stuff all the time.
I come in every day and I think today could be the day for someone. It might be today the light dawns and the window of opportunity opens, and I want to be there when that happens.
Your life will change.
I was a senior at Mendham High School and a very average, typical girl headed on the road to college. And at the last minute, I decided to take a gap year and ultimately took an internship at a school in northeastern India in Rishikesh. I started to learn about things that were happening in Nepal just across the northeastern border. I traveled some more all over Nepal, and I remembered this area, Surkhet, and I thought if I were to do something, if I were to make something a school and a home for these kids, I think that would be the right place. The first phone call that I made to my parents to tell them that I had this plan to build a children's home in Nepal, for me to say that I wanted to take my life savings of babysitting money and spend it just in one shot on a piece of land in the middle of nowhere in Nepal. They knew that I was serious about what I was doing. I want to say that they really just trusted and were like, okay, if this is what she wants to do.
first came to Peru in 1993. I came back because I wanted to get to know the people and see if there wasn't some way that I could be of help to them. There's no roads and everything's done by river. So I came back to Loreto and purchased a river taxi and had it rebuilt so that it would be a first aid clinic. The decision was something that came along piece by piece. First it was, that's a good idea. I look back on it now and I think, I must have been absolutely insane to go and do that. But it worked. Every morning there would be a line of people at this first aid clinic. It was the only place that people could get free health care, and the word spread. I wanted to be able to give them the knowledge to take care of their own needs. The only way I was going to be able to do that was through education. I wanted to initiate an education system for the people that would be something they would identify with, something that they would embrace. In several of the villages, we have now people who are functioning as promotores de salud, and there's a significant change in these communities relative to the general health in those communities. You would think that in a rainforest, water wouldn't be a problem. It's the quality of the water that's a problem. The most popular source of water is the Amazon River, which is extensively polluted. Very few people use a latrine. That's one reason. It just goes completely untreated into the Amazon River. Then we have all of the issues of oil drilling, mining, and the waste goes into the Amazon River. Here we are totally dependent on the ethics of the foreign companies that come in. We hope, APECA hopes, that what we're doing with education is something that will help to stabilize and empower the people so that they can be the ones that take care of our rainforest. In the communities where we have a promotor de salud, it is our hope to get to the point where each one of those communities will have a clean water project. The clean water projects that we have done so far have demonstrated that the change in the health of the population is significant. Out of this came a program where we give 10 saplings to a 10-year-old child. And the 10-year-old child is entrusted with these saplings to raise in his garden at his house, and they are his trees. And when he is an adult, he will have trees that he can build his own house with. There's a tremendous impact, I think, that APECA does make for the people here. To get them as independent as possible is really a critical issue for us. I think there was a time when I would have said, my reward is in seeing a child healthier than when they came to me. I've had enough babies die in my arms. I've had enough women come to me and say, take my baby. I'm doing it because I'm part of a process. I know that I'm being true to myself, that when it's me and the pillow at night, that's what I've got. And that's my reward.
In the beginning, I really did think, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna work a little bit, send some money back, and build a small home for a couple of kids, and that will be that. When I started to build this home, I had absolutely no money. Before I knew it, one of the guys that I was babysitting for, one of the dads, was like, why don't you start a foundation? We set up a foundation in a few months, and just slowly, $20 at a time, $30 at a time, we started saving up. One day, just before I was about to come back and check on things and be here for the construction, I had a check come in the mail, and it was for $20,000. It was enough to build the whole first story. Welcome to our house. This is Coppola Valley. The children with Hannah are working on a new mural for the front of the gate. It says Coppola Valley Children's Home, and they've all been painting today. There's the water line. Hopefully this will help a lot with the problems we've been having, not getting enough water. This is the house that we originally were living in before we shifted and built this new house. We rented a room just right there, and we all used to sleep in that one tiny room. This is Balju, our cook and my best friend, and like my mother over here, and I love her. We literally just finished the third story. I haven't been living here for the past 4 years, where there was a time where we weren't building or digging or painting. Hello! The big girls are living here. Hi. This is the boys' bedroom, and they keep all of their things in here. And right across the hall, the other boys' room. We call it the purple room. And we have 5 boys that sleep in here too. And this is, we call it the tuition room. The kids can come after school, they do their homework. It's like a big common room. This is also acting as a classroom at the moment. These are all kids in the after-school program. They're getting help with their homework. This is the medical room. We have a school nurse and a visiting doctor right now, Dr. Frank from the US, a medical student.
I run the clinic. So basically it's seeing kids from anywhere from minor scrapes, scratches, little injuries to upset stomachs, nausea, diarrhea, broken arms.
Does anybody have any suggestions?
The other thing I do is teach classes. I do 1st through 6th grade health classes. I treat the 30 children who are living here full-time, the 200 kids that come to the school, all the teachers and all the staff we have here, including the workers, and we've had a couple of workers' injuries.
You start.
Working with Maggie and the kids has been really rewarding. I'm just inspired by how much she does. The kids are just great because they're just little bundles of love. All they want to do is just come up and just hug you until you can't stand it anymore. They really want to learn, and they want to just know everything that they can.
Volunteers have really come to love and connect with the kids, and they give us so much, and I think they take away a lot too. We've had so much interest, so many people wanting to come over and give their time. We're living in an age now where people want to get on an airplane and see the world and come and give of themselves.
I believe to some extent the greatest thing you can find in life is your purpose, and I've felt that this is my purpose, this is the reason I'm here. I think the best way to describe Oasis is the name. There's a lot of young people whom their experience of life is a bit like a desert. It's like hard. They're looking for answers, and they're sometimes feeling like they're dying. And we try and be a place of safety, a place of rest, a place for reflection, a place where you can get revived, where you can find a new direction. 105,000 Australians who are homeless is appalling. What's even more appalling is that of that 105,000 that we count in the census, we know without a doubt that 32,000 of them were aged between 12 and 24. If the answer was as simple as giving young people a bed, I would have homelessness solved next week, I can promise you that. So even when you've made a decision, I'm going to stop the drugs, I'm going to try and reconnect with the community, it is really hard to convince an employer to give you a chance when you can't explain where you've been, why you dropped out of school when you were 15 or 16.
Like, I look at all the shit I've done in the past, and like how I bash people, I use girls for sex, use my mates for drugs. I've had enough.
People that are hurt, people that are really inside have been hurt, often hurt others. Often they don't have the skills. They're modelling what they've seen in their own families often. That is that when there's a dispute, violence is your immediate reaction, Anger is what pours out. I still believe that no matter what their past has been, no matter what messages have been sown in their life, what they believe about themselves, what their activities they're involved in now, that change is possible. We do outreach to the streets. Often they won't come to us, they're just so disconnected. Adults have let them down. When I started outreach 27 years ago, basically we walked the streets, and where there were a group of young people gathered, we just sat with them and we talked to them. A few years ago I reflected, is there a way that we can speed that process of engagement up, of building relationship? Can we make it happen quicker? We'll take this bus to them and we'll invite them to come on and surf the web, or play games, or do something a bit more constructive even, look for information about accommodation.
There is a poverty that we work with every day, and that's a poverty of social isolation, where young people and older people have nobody and they don't know what it's like to be loved and valued.
I regret hitting my mum. It was the worst thing I could ever do. I guess if she rang me up one day and said, come home, I'd love it. I'd love to go back home. It'd mean probably a lot more to me than anything. Most people think families you can take advantage for. Family's not something you take advantage. If you've got family, hold on to it as much as you can, because it's the only thing that's going to love you back 10 times more.
See that? Blasting, look at his head all over the wall. Hey?
So Richard Branson.
I'm going to roll him.
You're not going to roll him, mate.
Yeah.
You're going to welcome him to Oasis and say, get on board with youth homelessness, mate. Help us stop it.
Yeah, help us stop it.
Someone in Virgin said this is an issue that Virgin should support. Richard Branson comes to Australia to announce that Virgin Australia are supporting youth homelessness in Australia.
Welcome to Oasis.
So we've created a program called Champions for young people who've been homeless, who are actually trained in advocacy skills, speaking skills, to actually be a voice for people like themselves who are struggling.
22 years old, I've got 2 wonderful kids, and I'm really happy with everything at the moment. When I was growing up, when I went to school and that and had to go around this, my mum was never really there for me, and nobody was. I mean, they were always drinking, they were always gambling. I never really had any clean clothes to wear to school. Never really had any money for lunch. I had to steal other things off other people to eat, to survive. Every day before I'd go to sleep, I'll think about ending it, and that. It took me so many years to be able to heal and recuperate from that, and understand that it wasn't my fault, and that, everybody, like all of us, we all come from the same place, and that, and it doesn't matter where you go, it's where you're at now. Without places like this, I wouldn't be here, Asher wouldn't be here, B wouldn't be here, PJ, Tegan, all of us, we wouldn't exist. I don't think I'd be alive today. I don't think I'd have the honour of sitting here and sharing this with you. So that's all I've got to say. God bless.
Should I be talking to government ministers about this appalling situation in Australia? Should I be talking with companies and winning their support? Should I be, strategising with staff how we can create new programs? How can we be more responsive? They're the sort of tensions that you deal with. I guess I walk a middle road in that I still try and spend time with the kids, but I do this stuff too.
That's what it, mate. That's what starts production class 101.
Yeah, and I believe that we were born to fly, but some of us are falling, and sometimes life.
What they don't realise when they often come in is that they're learning. They're experiencing success at something.
People always say to me, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? I just say to them, listen, at 211 degrees, water is hot, and at 212 degrees, it boils. It's a 1 degree move. And I suppose I always challenge people, what's a 1 degree move that you could make?
We've all got a part to play in this. Obviously, for me, it's my life's work, it's my career, it's my passion. I really believe that we can, in Australia, reduce youth homelessness an enormous amount.
life is very tough here. I would say about 70% don't have Thai ID. To go to hospital, to clinic, you need an ID. They have never seen a doctor, sometimes in their whole life. Most people, they have very big families here. If you have more children, you get more help. The problem is that you are poor, and if you have a lot of children, then you can't feed your children properly. I went up to Hitra village. When I get there, they built me a house, a bamboo house, and I stay in that house, and then I give free medical treatments. So after a few weeks, I ran out of medicines. There were a lot of patients, and here was a doctor without medicines. That really broke my heart. You have to trust in yourself. Finally, I got an idea. I set up my own website called Where There Is No Doctor. Then I started getting volunteers. Most of them are medical students. We started this mobile clinic. We move around in villages. We give free medical treatments to the sick heat tribe people. Now I'm covering about 35 different villages. So we stay like 2 or 3 days in each village, and then we move. We carry boxes, medical supplies from village to village, up and down the hills. There is a time for everything. You just wait. A volunteer came. He was very impressed with my medical social work here, my commitment. He went back to Australia, and then he sent me money to buy a truck. There are a lot of sickness from low sanitation and poor water supply. Instead of just giving free medical treatments, we try to meet the underlying causing problems. So we pipe down water from the waterfall to a village like 2, 3, 5 kilometers. Sometimes it takes days. It costs like $2,000-3,000 US, but water is life. So every family got a toilet. Now all these villages, they have water supply. Now we come across like only 1 or 2 diarrhea cases, sometimes not even one in these villages. I could have done like, okay, we just build a big common toilet like in India, Okay, everybody use that toilet, and then the rest money I put in my pocket. I could do that, but I don't do that. I always go with my consciousness. I can lie to you, but I cannot lie to myself. I do all this thing not because I want something in return. Whenever I do something or whenever I help poor people, I feel good and I have peace.
Hoy es un lugar donde viven 13 chicos. Vivimos como una familia grande y tenemos nuestra granja, tenemos huerta orgánica, cría de pollos, de conejos, tenemos cría de cerdos, cabras, vacas. Cocinamos todo lo que la granja nos provee y lo llamamos gastronomía sustentable. Tenía una empresa muy importante junto con mi marido. Trabajábamos mucho, muy bien. Teníamos una casa hermosísima. Y una vez me replanteé lo que era, que realmente, aunque tenía todas las cosas materiales, no me sentía bien, no era feliz. Entonces un día lo llamé a mi marido y le dije, yo no sigo más. Yo voy a empezar en una búsqueda de lo que a mí me hace sentir bien.
Cuando cenan, tienen ganas de ir a dormir porque ya están agotados. Y eso es muy bueno. Duermen con sueño y comen con hambre.
Cuando era chica me encantaba cocinar con mi abuela. Me encantaba cocinar. Y estoy recordando algunas recetas que enseñaba mi abuela, como los ravioles. Y me parece que la cocina es un lugar donde se produce la mayor transformación. A vos te traen, no sé, un tacho de leche y sale, haces queso, haces ricota. Es donde se produce la mayor transformación. Mucha gente viene y sabés que estoy observando que no viene porque la comida es riquísima, porque hay algo más que la gente no lo ve. No hay estrés en la cocina, se trabaja en un ambiente de mucho amor, se trabaja de dar lo mejor de cada uno de nosotros y eso llega al plato. Esto lo hago porque me gusta, porque me hace feliz. Y lo hago con alegría y jugando. Lo mismo que cuando bailo un tango. Siento adentro mío esa misma sensación que te conecta con algo, no sé, con algo trascendente.
La sociedad no es perfecta, entonces alguien tiene que hacer algo. Yo me siento muy orgulloso de haber sido útil a, qué sé yo, casi 40 chicos que han pasado por aquí.
Y siento que son esos hilos invisibles a través del mundo que te va uniendo con la gente y que tiene que ver con el amor, ¿no es cierto? Y que no es casualidad nada, sino, no entiendo, pero funciona, esto es.
The first child I found, she was Nisha. She had been sold at the age of 8 as a domestic servant after her parents had died. The most intelligent, bright girl you could ever imagine. I mean, I just know she'll end up getting her PhD and becoming a doctor or a surgeon or something. The second child was begging at the bus park, and her sister had just died at 16, 17 of HIV because she had been forced into prostitution. The next girl I found was working in a small alcohol shop on just a roadside mud hut selling alcohol to men late at night, and she was beaten every time she broke a glass. The next child was from a really remote area, and she was malnourished, and she had grown up eating mud because she didn't have enough food to eat. Their stories started getting deeper and really affecting me more. I didn't know that I would form these really close connections. It's almost like you're the one that gives birth to these kids in a way, because you find them and all of a sudden they go from these kind of soulless children that have been through so much, and within a couple days they liven and they brighten up and they're just happy little normal kids. The 20th kid came, and then the 25th, and we're up to 30 now. I think the hardest thing is seeing the suffering and knowing that we live in a world and kind of having to be the one that bears the news of saying look, this is what's happening to kids, and knowing that they shouldn't have had to go through those things in the first place at all. In Nepal, there's 1 million children that are orphaned or parentless or living on the streets. You can't help them all. And if you get yourself down and you start thinking about, gosh, there are so many more that need to be enrolled into school, there's so much more to do, you'll never really accomplish anything. Everything I'm doing is what I can do and what I can give, and the kids that come here to live they're being given a great childhood. You know, you walk in this place and you feel a different sort of energy than you do when you go outside. And when I walk out and I meet a kid or I go to one of the students that studies here, I go to their home, I realize, gosh, there's such a contrast between what our children have been given, what I've created here, and what other kids are having to live with.
I used to work for General Motors, That's what we do in Detroit. That's what Eminem says. This is Detroit. We make things. That's what we do. I worked at the Proving Grounds in Michigan. And when my entire shift got laid off, we all thought we were laid off because of changeover, because that's what always happened. And there came a point in time that it became clear to me and some of my colleagues that we weren't going back to work at General Motors. We took a visit to the Proving Grounds and saw robots driving our experimental cars. So it became absolutely clear, gee, there's a robot that doesn't need to go to the bathroom, doesn't want to get paid, didn't care about lights and gas, didn't worry about coal, and me. Them and me. Them and me. Oh, we're not going back to work here anymore. So I began to really become involved with this organization at that time called Michigan Welfare Rights. And I wanted to learn what is the position of poverty and what is it that makes people treat folks that are low income or no income so bad. Now, there's no crying down here. This is a fighting organization, no tears. All right, you got your pencil?
Okay. I am so blessed to be able to have this.
Welfare Rights is not an organization that just attracts low income and poor people. We have an advocate group along with us that's called Friends of Welfare Rights, and they're working people. Some of them have lots of money. I'm real good friends with folks that are Republicans. We're talking about a quality of life issue here. Our theme is about eliminating poverty, and that means lifting all ships, not just the yachts, but the rowboats got to go up too. The world is changing, and I don't think this is cyclical. I don't think this is a flash in the pan. I think something fundamental has changed here.
We knew that we had to fight for jobs even back in the 1960s, and that was our key to coming out of poverty. It's a different poverty today. Some of the people that have worked in the factory, some of the people that have been social workers, some of the people that have had some of the good jobs are now joining Welfare Rights.
We are an advocate organization that does battle on behalf of low-income people and welfare recipients. Where we're most successful and most notorious is the activities in which we provide street action.
Here we are living around the Great Lakes and facing the possibility that we cannot afford water.
The water situation in Detroit is horrendous. It is actually a question of privatization. We have been raising this debate. Is water something that you can pay for and can have, or is it essentially a human right? The water department in Detroit began an aggressive policy of interrupting service, turning water off at thousands, tens of thousands of households in just Detroit because people were unable to pay the rising costs of water. Once your water is turned off, your house may be declared unlivable. We have a particular problem in Michigan because to have a household without water and be low income or on welfare means that protective services can be called, sent to your home, your situation investigated, and your children can be taken away and put into foster care.
We are in trouble because the tax base across the country is gone. They don't need us to work anymore. You cannot put this egg back in the shell, and now you're being forced to figure out what kind of a world do you want.
I remember what communities used to look like. I remember what factories and jobs and opportunities and students. I've been one. I know what those things look like. This is about a change in class. Every now and then, we're on the picket line, we're in a demonstration, and somebody like Jennifer will show up who will say, you know, I think that this is a real important fight that you all are in, and I want to join it. 100 days of people working with folks that don't get it. Serve me, help me, take care of me. And then you find one Jennifer, or you find one Quentin, or you find somebody that says, I want to get in this foxhole with you because I understand what's going on.
Are being denied their water, not around the globe, but here in Michigan, where we have 20% of the world's available drinking water. I've learned that getting people to see the light as to what's going on with our water is an uphill battle. But I've learned something really important to me, that people, when they come together, they can make a difference.
It makes me feel good when I see young folks coming in, even older folks coming in, and realizing that they have a place in this movement.
Used to be you get a job and then you work and then you get a paycheck and you go to the bank, cash it, and all the money's gone, and then you go back to work. And this is what we know. That paradigm has shifted. Are you still qualified to get health care? Should you still be able to get a house? Is dignity still available to you if you don't have cash?
No one should be homeless. No one should be without food.
The answer, I believe, is that this new class has got to begin to see itself as a group of people worthy of food, housing, clothing, healthcare, education. And until that happens, then we're going to continue to sort of knock at the edges of the door.
I feel reward in that sense, that we can have a better world.
If I leave this activity today and get run over by a bus, I'm going straight to heaven. When I get there, I can make things nicer for my son. Because I always think about that guy. That's the only reward I have. Do better.
We had all of these kids living in this house, and they were so happy, and they were really thriving and starting to heal. But I still noticed that there were so many kids that were out of school, and I really wanted a way to share all the magic that was happening in our home and bring more kids in. And I knew it was the time to create something that matched the vibe and the success that we were having in our children's home. And I thought the best way to do that was to build our own copula school.
Once in France, there was a beautiful girl.
Yeah. And the timing could not have been more wrong. I had lost 3 children. I witnessed the death of 3 children at the time. I was emotionally really, really drained. Politically, there was a civil uprising, a Maoist uprising, and political tension after the election. And I had 5 or 6 land deals completely fall through. But slowly things started to really, really turn around. Last year, we were awarded with $100,000 to build the school. And then we had donors that literally came out of the woodwork from all over the world. I put an ad in the paper, 200 teachers come out, and a lot of them just really wanted to be a part of something. They really liked what we were doing and applied for the job. My main English teacher took a 2,000 rupee a month salary cut because she wanted to be a part of it. Now we have 212 students enrolled into our school. They come every single day, and we just opened literally 2 weeks ago. All of us who are working here in the third world have really realized that education for everybody is the answer, and literacy for young girls and for women really can change a country. It can change the whole generation if they become literate and they become educated. Even here in remote Nepal, where most people are farmers, they still want a chance to become literate. You know, mothers that can't even write their names, they can't sign their own name on a document. They'll do anything to give their daughters a chance, and they'll say, it's just because I want them to be able to read and write. I want them to progress further in life than I was given the opportunity to do.
Zacznę od siebie. Wydaje mi się, że mogę się popłakać, ale konie uratowały moje życie. Moje dziecko, które już wiadomo było niepełnosprawne, Ania, bardzo w ogóle zwracała uwagę od małego na konie. Prowadziła to wtedy Jagoda Maciaszek w Józefowie, też w takiej stajni elitarnej, ale ta dziewczyna też zaczęła bardzo mocno zaczęła już prowadzić tą hipoterapię. Czy takie dziecko jak moja Ania mogłaby korzystać z takiej formy rehabilitacji, z tej hipoterapii? Ania moja była przede wszystkim przeszczęśliwa. Ona też wyczekiwała, kiedy ona na te konie przyjedzie, kiedy ona na tym koniu będzie jeździła. Myślałam, że będę mogła mówić. Minęło 12 lat od śmierci Anki, ale ciągle mi jej brakuje. Ania zmarła 31 sierpnia 1998 roku. I latem, właśnie w 1999 roku, może już tak, to był maj, przyjechała do mnie koleżanka i ja właśnie tak tylko powiedziałam, i co ja mam z tym życiem robić? Ona mówi, jeździć konno. Całe życie o tym marzyłaś. I w obrębie mojej działki zaczęła szukać stadniny. Znalazłyśmy stadninę. No i tak trochę mnie wsadzili na tego konia trochę siłą, trochę nie miałam innego wyjścia. I można powiedzieć, od tego momentu zaczęła się moja przygoda z końmi. I chciałam stworzyć miejsce, w którym absolutnie to miejsce nie będzie przypominało ani rodzinie, ani dziecku miejsca przychodzi na rehabilitację. Tylko tu chciałabym zintegrować również dzieci zdrowe i dzieci niepełnosprawne. Chciałabym bardzo też, żeby miejsce, w którym znajduje się galopek, było takim miejscem rodzinnym, żeby rodziny chętnie do nas przyjeżdżały, nie tylko na zajęcia rehabilitacyjne, hipoterapię, żeby chętnie spędzały tutaj czas.
Wokół szyi. Co trzeba zrobić?
Żeby na przykład dziecko niepełnosprawne ze swoim bratem, siostrą mogło po prostu wspólnie bawić się na tych koniach. I dziecko niepełnosprawne będzie rehabilitowane, natomiast dla dziecka zdrowego będą to wspaniałe zajęcia, ale jednocześnie wspólnie będą spędzali czas tutaj. Nie tylko da nam swój ruch, dzięki któremu możemy przygotować dzieci niepełnosprawne do chodzenia, może nas obdarzyć jeszcze emocjami. Jest to taki czarodziej. I jeśli jest dziecko z porażeniem mózgowym, spastyczne, posadzone jednocześnie na oklep, dzięki temu, że koń jest ciepły i dzięki temu możemy rozciągać, nagrzewać ścięgna. Ruch konia przygotowuje takie dziecko do chodzenia i jednocześnie wzmacnia mu całe mięśnie, bo dziecko musi utrzymać pozycję prostą. Naszym zadaniem tutaj jest nie tylko rehabilitacja ruchowa, jednocześnie też, może trudno nazwać rehabilitacją, ale musimy się zająć, musimy być bardzo czujni i musimy się zająć jednocześnie i ciałem, i duszą po prostu. I wtedy to ma sens. Ale trzeba zaznaczyć, bo jest to bardzo istotna rzecz, że hipoterapia jest uzupełnieniem rehabilitacji konwencjonalnej, nie może być tylko jedyną taką rehabilitacją. To jest ta nagroda. Zwierzęta, powietrze, no i mnóstwo ludzi, i dzieci, którzy mają do mnie zaufanie, obdarzyli mnie tym zaufaniem. I to jest chyba najważniejsze. Albo wręcz nie chce stąd wyjeżdżać, albo już się pyta, kiedy będzie mogło przyjechać. To wtedy wiem, robię to dobrze i jestem potrzebna.
I first came to Uganda in 2006 with my husband. He works with malaria and HIV. Living here is complex. You know, there's nothing simple, I don't think, about living in Africa. The idea for Wrap Up Africa was really born on that first trip. So in order to get to my husband's office, you have to walk through the cancer ward in order to get to the malaria ward. I would say about 200 families at the time were in and around the hospital, and the children have pretty dramatic cancers. Of these, 5 little girls that were very, very close friends, one little girl, Susan, really became almost like a poster child for me and a reason to really start the organization. Literally over the course of 4-month time period, watched all of them pass away. And I was sitting in the office one day with a little girl. She was looking at photos that we had of the other kids on the wall, and she said, "Wow, all my friends are dead." And it just gutted me.
In the whole of Uganda, we only have one cancer treatment center. The current situation in the hospital, it is so bad. They have nowhere to sleep because the ward is so full. There is no food. The hospital doesn't give them food anymore. When they realize that I don't have the money to do the investigations or to start the treatment or to stay in the hospital any longer, they just have no option but to take the patient back home to die.
Getting funding is really, really difficult, especially for cancer in Africa, as it's not really on the radar. So I wanted to try and come up with a way that we could bring trade as well as aid to Africa and really do a lot of economic development and social development in a more sustainable way. Africa has a beautiful textile tradition, and so that seemed very natural to me to try and capitalize on that. In addition, many NGOs are training people in tailoring skills. So we have all these tailors that are learning this skill, and they have nowhere actually to take their clothes to access markets. I first met Rita at the hospital and started having her take me to tailors that she thought might be good, and that's how we found our head tailor, Sissy, and she's been brilliant. And the other tailor is Evelyn, and so she volunteered for us for several months, and then we hired her on as a tailor as well. We've looped a lot of other artists into our organization. They really don't have a market, and it's really, really difficult for them to earn a living doing what they're so brilliant at doing. We're working with sculptors to make buckles and potters to make buttons for us. Pumping money into the local market by buying all of our machines here. We're actually looking at partnering with some other organizations to develop a worker-owned production factory that's organic from seed to end product. So we're really building a garment industry in Uganda. And really, at the end of the day, it would have been so much easier for me to start just a cancer foundation and solicited donations and given them to people. That is a really easy supply chain. It's much, much more difficult to provide jobs and actually build industry and build economy and support a foundation. Moving to Uganda and starting Wrap Up Africa has impacted my views on absolutely everything. There isn't anything in me that hasn't been touched or rewired in some really serious way. I've always been the kind of person that was motivated to try and make the world a better place and participate in that in some way. And when I went to the Cancer Institute and saw the kids, I just felt like I couldn't not do something about it. And though I don't get any financial compensation, I get paid in so many other ways.
I just woke up one day and I was like, you know, it's really time. I've got 212 kids coming here every single day. If anything happens, I need to be able to get them to the hospital. All of this rice and all of these vegetables, all of this fruit that we're carrying, we can't continue to carry it by foot and on this little scooter. I really think it's time for a Kopila car. I just dreamed really big and I put it out onto my blog and out into the universe, and within 5 days, we raised $32,000, enough to buy the vehicle of our dreams. I started going into schools and talking to kids, and I showed pictures of the journey that I had been on for the past year or two. It became easier and easier to sort of tell my story and express myself. This is what the community that I live with in Nepal has been able to create. Before I knew it, I started getting emails and messages and phone calls and meeting all of these young people that had sort of rallied around the story and what we were doing, and everybody would say the same thing. I want to be involved, I want to be a part of it. How did you do that? I want to do the same thing. We all get stuck into that mindset of, it's so hard, how do you do it? And my whole message all along has been, you can do the same thing. You can do anything that you want to do.
came to live in Australia 22 years ago, and for the last 22 years have been working in the hospitality industry. I had my own event company, and that involved putting on special events, and so I saw firsthand that there was so much food left over. Fuel, energy, resources, money have been expended in producing that product, and by throwing it away, you are throwing away all those valuable resources. OzHarvest is a food rescue program. We collect the perishable surplus food that the food industry produces. Anywhere that there's food left over in the community on a daily basis, OzHarvest collects and delivers that food to over 200 charities or community services, NGOs, that provide food programs to people who come for a variety of needs. They might be coming because they're elderly and have no money. They might be coming because they're homeless, a whole range of reasons. We will provide food to anybody who has a food rescue program that delivers food out for free. We got a call, for example, from a charity a couple of weeks ago, a youth hostel that has 24 Aboriginal youth in it. They have a budget of $12.50 a week per child to feed those kids. Clearly, that goes nowhere. Those kids are starving. And they heard about us and called us. In some cases, we get raw ingredients. We get chickens. This week we got 3 whole lambs that a hospitality school had brought in to show their students how to cut, how to look at lamb, and then didn't want to use it. So we took that fresh raw lamb and gave it to an agency and who turned it into lamb stew for 300 people for dinner that night. Before OzHarvest, that kind of food would just have got thrown away. We collect the food for free, we pick it up and deliver it for free, and it has to be given away for free. We started OzHarvest with 1 person on the telephone, a driver, and a truck. And in that first month, in November 2004, we delivered the equivalent of 8,000 meals to 4 charities, and I thought that was fantastic. Well, last month, we have 7 full-time drivers and 7 trucks on the road. We delivered the equivalent of 135,000 meals, and we now have 4 full-time people working in the office. There were those food donors who just said, "This is great, I love what you do, and I'm going to support you." But there were many that said, "We would love to support you, but of course we can't because we're worried about our liability. What happens if the food is off or if people misuse the food?" So I realized that actually one of the very important things to do would be to amend the law so that it allowed food donors to give food away for free. My goal was to save leftover food because it felt that we should be giving it to a better purpose, that it was unconscionable that good food goes to waste. When I realized the quantities of food that we were collecting, that actually we would have and have continued to have an enormous double impact. Food, when it decomposes, gives off methane gas, which is 20 times more polluting than carbon dioxide. So by saving millions of kilos of food from going to landfill, we are also saving the environment. So food is care, food is love, food is dignity, and it's not just what fills our tummies. One of the big messages we get back from the people who get food from us is that they feel respected, they feel valued, that somebody would think about giving them this quality food makes them feel special.
The story has become well known. I write on a blog and I share pieces of our everyday life here. It resonates with people because it's so positive and it's so good and the answer is so simple. Just by putting a child into school, you can change their whole entire life. And even if they're going home to an abusive alcoholic father or having to work to make money or look after the animals or take care of younger siblings, even if there's not enough food, they're here for 6 hours a day and they're happy and they're learning about the planets and the human body and they're learning how to read and write. Every year in Mendham High School now, at least 4 or 5 kids are taking gap years and stepping out of the straight path of having to go to college and having to be successful, and all of that's really good, but who's to say that we have to rush and get on this fast track to where? Like, what's the point, you know? Where are we all going? Where are we all rushing towards? We don't have to rush to get anywhere. There is no final destination. Our life is what we want it to be and what we can create. Sharing that message with people, it really frees them to see, like, oh yeah, if she can do this, then why can't I?
But I'm here to say that I believe, yeah, in the power of one. It only takes one heart, one soul to make a difference in this world.
I'm living in a world that is the world that I want to be in.
There's a way to connect to good stuff all the time.
The only things you really need are passion, perseverance, and a willingness to make mistakes.
I come in every day and I think today could be the day for someone. Someone whose life has been absolutely filled with pain and suffering. It might be today that they get it, They might be today that the light dawns and the window of opportunity opens. And I want to be there when that happens.
Just go out and find a little way that you can do something that isn't for the money and isn't for the recognition of doing, but is just for the sake of doing, because your life will change.
All of us are leaders, and we just have to shine each other up.
We all have something to give and to offer, to continue to share that message that there's so much to do. Let's all do this together. Let's make this world what we want it to be. We can do it.
What you put out, it all comes back to you on the ocean waves. You have a choice to either give or take. Our time is short here either way. It only takes one heart, one soul, make a difference in this world. One heart, one soul, make a difference in this world. I believe that we were born to fly, but some of us are falling, and sometimes life just wants to pass us by. But you gotta keep walking.